Before we start this video, a large thank you to DeepMind, Kuzumba, Panji-san, a name I unfortunately cannot pronounce. Thank you for the support, my friend. Knight Stardon, Pavel, and SX Kane for their support on Patreon. I hope you guys enjoy the video. And as always, a massive thank you to Halo Burner and Ryan Bellin for their continued immense support to the channel this month on Patreon. It is greatly appreciated, gentlemen, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello everybody, today we're going to continue this cursed ladder system. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to add box colliders to my top and bottom, and I'm going to add rigid bodies to them. And the box colliders be a trigger and the rigid body is kinematic. Now I've set up my animation states incorrectly in the last video, so if you're using my animations and you've done what I've done, then I am going to correct that in this video for you. So I'm going to make the box collider here. Basically, you want to stick it out just a little bit in front of the ladder and have it face the ladder like this for the bottom. And on top, we're going to do something similar, but obviously we're going to raise it up. And you could just move the collider like this using the box collider's parameters. But actually, I'm just going to use the Y position up here. And that was the position in Nef, but for some reason that's not tracking at all. So I'm going to adjust this a bit. I thought I was going to copy what I've got done in Nephalite, but for some reason it's different. And I don't want to investigate it too much. So just make the collider a fair size, because when you enter this, it's going to consistently check for an exit. And when you're at the exit height, it will basically allow you to leave the ladder via the animation. So let's make two positions now for top exit right hand and top exit left hand. And what this is going to do is you want one of these to be slightly higher than the other if you're using the animations I've supplied, and I'll show you why. But basically, if your right hand is on above your left hand when you get to this rung, you'll play the animation where you exit from the proper hand. And likewise, if your left hand is above your right hand when you get to this rung, then you'll play that animation, because we have two exit animations, one that leads with your right hand and one that leads with your left hand. So then we have start position entrance, and this is going to be where you actually start to climb down the ladder. So I'm going to put that just a bit back here. You can copy my values here as you see them in the video if you'd like, but this is basically where your character's going to stand when they play the animation, and nothing here is absolute, guys. I'm probably going to change this a bunch during the video. I'm just taking a rough guess right now and throwing them out there, so don't worry about it or think too hard about it. I'll explain what to do if it's not working correctly. I mean, you could probably surmise what to do just by looking at the code and watching the animation fail, but we'll get to that later. So do the same thing down here, make a start position for the entrance, and this is just going to be like at the bottom of the ladder, but you want to pull it back a little bit. So obviously it will be centered with the ladder, but you want the Z position to be a bit different, and the start position, the top exit position for right hand and left hand will be the same variables as above. You don't need to make a new set for the bottom, obviously, because those variables are for the top side only. Interactable text is going to be climb and drag in your collider. I'm definitely going to miss something, so I'm probably going to come back in here a bunch of times, so we'll save this for now. And now I'll go back to the game, go to the player Locomotion manager. So where we have handle granite movement, we actually need to make a flag for ignoring gravity. So you could say here, if the player is climbing the ladder.value, also just simply return we don't want to move via our granite movement. So we're going to disable that there. We also need to make one as well for ignoring gravity after, so we block our falling, but we'll get to that in a moment. First, we'll go to the character network manager, and we're going to make an on is climbing ladder changed. So this is going to trigger when you are climbing a ladder and when you're no longer climbing a ladder. What we want to do is set an animator bool that says we are climbing a ladder. So we're going to say is climbing ladder if we are, else. So let's go make that animator bool by adding a new bool called is climbing ladder. I know I'm going really fast, but feel free to replay the video. I'm just trying to get in as much as I can. And you can see in my animation states, let's make these ladder idles go back to the empty if we're not climbing ladders. So if the animation breaks somehow, and make the transition instant. This is where we get knocked off the ladder too, because then we're going to go back into our override layer. So let's go back into the script again, and let's also say character.animator.setBool, and then we're going to say is climbing ladder. Again, I know I'm going very, very fast. Feel free to pause, slow down, play it at half speed or whatever. Just trying to condense as much as I can into 20 or 25 minutes for you guys. So if we are climbing the ladder, what we want to do is we're going to say character.character. I don't think I have an equipment manager call here. We'll come back to that in a sec. We'll say character.character. Let's see here. No, I don't have an equipment manager call. Okay, so I'm on a to-do list here. We'll do this at the end or the beginning of the next video. You want to hide and unhide your weapons here when you begin climbing and when you're done climbing, if you don't send the server RPCs, because we're going to call this on is climbing ladder changed for all characters in the game. So if you have a client, he jumps on the ladder, his weapon's hiding your end, he jumps back off the ladder, his weapons are visible again. So let's go over now and make a flag on the character Locomotion Manager called Ignore Gravity. Defaultly set it to false. Let's also reactivate this on our reset animator bool. I forgot, let's remove that. And it's actually going to be called reset, was it flag? Action flag? Yeah, somebody commented in the last YouTube video and said they don't have that script. That's my bad, I put the wrong script there. It should be this script. So this is where we reset all of our characters' flags. That's the script you want to put on there. And now I'm going to add to this script character.characterLocomotionManager.ignoreGravity is equal to false. There we go. Let's save that. And if you have flying enemies like AI, don't disable this here. Make a check for it. Just saying. So now back over on our character Locomotion Manager, I'm going to stick in if we are ignoring gravity, simply return, but I'm actually going to want to put that above because you see we move the character here for our gravity, but we also move our character in set grounded velocity. So put that above set grounded velocity and your slope slide check. There we go. Cool. Very good. All right, that looks good. I'm going to go to set grounded velocities to show you to make sure. Yes, we are always applying a velocity that kind of sticks us to the ground. So this is what it looks like, by the way, when I don't have all the notes planned out for you guys, because I'm kind of ripping this from Neff, and it's not really a polished feature, so I'm a bit more sporadic than the usual things I show you, and that will be why I feel like I'm a bit more all over the place. But you want to disable any other IK systems here when you are climbing the ladder, and you want to enable ignore gravity. And then when you're done climbing the ladder, we're going to come back to this, unhide your weapons, and then basically re-enable your gravity by saying ignore gravity is equal to false. And then re-enable any other IK systems you have. I'm saying that because in Nephalite I have like weapon IK and different kinds of arm and foot IK systems. And if you enable them while you're climbing, it could break the climbing sequence. So you want to disable that if you have it while you're climbing. So character manager, let's jump over here now. And I'm going to go to my, not my update, where am I going? On network spawn. Actually, I'll put this in the player manager. If you want to have AI climb the ladder, then yeah, you can put it there. But in this project, I'm only going to have the player climb the ladder. So I will go down here and I'm going to say right under flags, player network manager. And then we're going to reference our is climbing ladder on value changed plus equals player network manager on is climbing ladder changed. Very cool. Now let's copy that and let's unsubscribe from it on network despawn, as we've done dozens of times now. Looks good. And make sure you're not checking for ownership for that, because you want this to fire to on a client that's connected to your game. I forgot to set these to triggers, so I'm going to do that. And now over on the ladder interactable script, I also forgot to enable the fact that we're climbing a ladder. So I'm going to say is climbing ladder is equal to true here. And I'm going to go back and make sure I tick that this is the top of the ladder, because I didn't have the top of the ladder ticked. And now under my climb core animation, make sure you have enable is climbing ladder as an animation, and we're going to make that right now. If you have my animations, it's already there. So under character locomotion manager, I'm going to add a function for public void enable is climbing ladder. Okay. And if you just missed that, as I just said, go back and make sure your setting is climbing ladder to true when you're in the ladder interactable script. Just rewind. I went through that really fast, just realizing that. I'm snapping around a lot, so make sure you don't miss that. Very important. Now, under enable is climbing ladder, if you're not the owner, return. If you are the owner, enable is climbing ladder. And you know what? I'm going to go back there and post this function there to show you where it was exactly. And I'm going to make one for disable too. I don't think we need it, but just in case, because it's getting reset in the action flag. So let's copy enable is climbing ladder, and down here on line 187, we're going to reference that by playing or saying player.player locomotion manager enable is climbing ladder. That's on the ladder interactable script. Okay, now I'm going to go and create an empty object under my ladder prefab. I'm going to call this ladder center position, and this is just going to basically make sure our character is always actually basically in the center of the ladder as they climb it. So when they're climbing, we're going to hold our character to this position on the X and Z axes. So let's save that. Now I'm going to drag in that variable because I forgot. I also forgot to drag in all my variables on the bottom here, so I'm going to do that as well. That looks good, and I think we're finally good to try this out in a moment. Okay, going in the game here now, let's try it out. I'm climbing the ladder, and I have an error right away. Okay, I know why that's happening. All right, so it is climbing though, cool. And I still get that pop-up that says climb. I don't want that, so let's fix that. And if we go back to the update method here, let's do a check to make sure our character controller is enabled. And this is on the character locomotion manager, and if it is enabled, then we apply our move. Now over here, I'm going to untick has exit time from the idle to the climb, because we want the idle to the climb to be instant as soon as we start giving some input. That's my bad. I got all four of those. Make sure you untick has exit time. Go back to the player input manager now, because we need another piece of this puzzle as well. I'm going to go to where we handle our movement input. And what we're going to do, this is on line 451 for me, I'm writing this. Right below, I'm checking for can run. I'm going to say if the player.characterController is not enabled, we're simply going to say player.playerNetworkManager is moving.value is equal to false, and then we can return. Oh, let's also say player.playerAnimatorManager.update animator parameters. Actually, we'll say 0, 0, and then false for his sprinting. And then we can return. Okay. Right below that again, we're going to say if the player.playerNetworkManager.isClimbingLadder.value. We're going to open up some curly brackets here, and then we're just going to basically update the animator parameters and then return, and we're going to pass the horizontal and vertical input. I think it's horizontal first. I got to double check though. Yes, it is. Okay, I just want to make sure because don't want to put in the wrong input. Okay, save, and we're good. Now back to reset action flag. Let's come down here, and we're also going to reset the fact that we're climbing a ladder. So character.character locomotion manager, or sorry, exiting a ladder is equal to false. We also need to set is climbing a ladder to false down here when we're the owner. So if you're the owner, we set that to false. Now let's save this and go back and try again. I'm still gonna get that pop up though, but I want to see if I can actually. Okay, see the animations are off here. Watch this. They're gonna. Oh, that's also not supposed to happen. Okay, so I've corrected my animations here. What you want to do if you're using my set is we're gonna go from this idle left to climb up ladder left. Again, on tick has exit time, and you want to make sure if this is climbing up, you want to check for is moving is true and vertical is greater than 0. Now obviously I got to do the same thing for my ladder idle right too, and there we go. That looks good, but now my climb down is also broken. You can see that's not right. So we're going to do the same thing, but inversely. I have to change the animation states, which I'm going to do in a second, and I've already done. There we go. And now I'll show you on camera. One second, we pull this over really quick. Okay, so I'm going from climb down left to ladder idle right, and then I'm going from ladder climb down right to ladder idle left. So there you go. There's the transition. And that is a lot better. Okay. Now I'm going to try to climb up again. I think I'm still going to get that pop-up. Yes, I am. I can see the pop-up, and the exit is fine now. Cool, good stuff. Okay, so let's deal with that pop-up now because that's irritating me as well. And also, I think I can climb up for infinity. Yep, still not going to get off the ladder. That's pretty cool. Okay, we'll adjust that too. So first, let's go to our ladder animations. Let's create a new script called toggle can exit ladder because we have no way of knowing if we can ever leave. I forgot this script. Put it on the ladder idle left and right. So the idea here is that when you get to an idle sequence, then you can exit because when you get to the proper height at which you can exit, it's going to stop you from moving if your input is held up or down. At which point you will rest on the idle animation, then you can exit without any weird animation artifacts. Like it won't basically look like you're cutting hard or not blending the animation because it will line up perfectly. So let's basically drop in our namespace as per tradition, and we're going to get a character manager variable here. We're going to say if character is equal to null, we're going to say it's equal to character is equal to animator get component character manager. If for some reason your character manager is still null, then we're going to return. If it's not though, we're going to do a couple things here. We're also going to do this on state exit, by the way. So come down here like this. Cool, looks very good. Now, first thing we're going to do is say character.character locomotion manager can exit ladder, top of ladder is equal to true. And if you exit this trigger, then can exit top of ladder is equal to false. So let's make a header up here. Then we're going to say right hand, because there's one for can exit with right hand. And if it's not right, it must be can exit with left hand. So we're going to say bool can exit right is equal to true by default. And then we're going to say here, if this is can exit with right hand, then we're going to say can exit with right hand is equal to true. So we'll say character locomotion manager can exit ladder with right hand is equal to true. Now let's do a check. So if can exit with right, and then obviously if it's not can exit with right, it must be left. So then we can say can exit ladder with left hand is equal to true. And in the reverse down bottom, we want to disable them. When you leave the trigger, you're not able to exit anymore. Leave the animation state, that is. So we're only allowing an exit to be processed from the idle state. You have to arrive there first. And remember, if you are getting into the height at which you can exit, we've disabled our movement. So you'll stay on this idle state. Now, tick can exit with right on the ladder idle right, and then we should be good. Let's go ahead and Forgot something again, come back into the ladder interactable, and disable can move has to be right here before you exit the top of the ladder. If you can't exit the top ladder, return, because we want to disable the movement as soon as our height matches the height at which we can exit. And then back over here on handle player movement input, we have one more call to make. We're going to say right up top here, right below move amount equals. If the player.player locomotion manager cannot move, then we're simply going to return, and we're going to say player network manager is moving.value is equal to false. So this will stick us right on the ladder as soon as we have our movement disabled. And then we should exit right when we're supposed to. Yes, okay, but our positions look really horrible, so we got to change the variables that we've made. We still have this dumb pop-up, so I'm going to get rid of that right now. We'll go to on-trigger enter and disable the base.interact. I forgot to delete that, and the on-trigger exit, and that should actually remedy our problem. I think that's it. So let's save that, and we can try again. So I'm back in here now. Climbing, okay, and no pop-up, we're good. So this still looks terrible though. See how we're blending right there? So I'm going to show you what we can do about that. And also we're not playing the animation because I've spelt it wrong. Climb down, enter should be climb down, ladder, enter. I think that will fix it. And right now we can close all the pop-up windows when we leave the on-trigger exit. That will make the pop-up go away. But instead, let's go to remove interaction from list. And what we're going to do is we're going to check the interaction list. And if we remove the only interaction in the list, we can do that by making a bool has only this interaction. Then we close all of our pop-up windows, because that means that the only interaction we've ever had in our list is now gone. So if there's a pop-up message, we have to remove it. So we're going to say if current interactable actions contains interactable object and interactions count is equal to 1, then we know that has only this interaction has to be true. And then we're going to say if has only this interaction, we're going to close all pop-up windows. This will make it so if you ever leave an interaction trigger, like climbing a ladder, and there's no other interactables, it will just disable the message. Okay, so now if we climb up top, yes, that's a bit better. And now if I try to climb down from the bottom here, that looks really terrible because, okay, and it broke again. All right, let's see what else is wrong. So under handle free fall movement, let's go ahead and say if the player.character controller is not enabled, then we're not going to process this. So make sure it is enabled to process this move. And also I used an animation with no animation event. So if you're using my animations, use climb down ladder right left. You can see here I have a enable is climbing ladder event. And now it should work. Yes, it does, but it doesn't line up with the animation. If you saw that, it was really ugly. So also this position here is way too far to the right. So I'm going to move it over and we'll try again. How's that? Let's see. Okay, that's much better. That's a lot better actually. I might tweak that a bit more, but yeah, you get the idea. So basically, let's go from this climb down, enter ladder animation. Let's go down to ladder, climb down left. You might be thinking, why are you using an exit animation that climbs down 2 rungs? It's because I want it to go a fair ways down so you're not right on the cusp of the top of the ladder, where you're in that weird position where you can almost be like half above it. It's just a preference, but you can use the one with a single rung climb, but I like the one that brings you in a couple rungs already. So that's actually looking a lot nicer now. You can see here I can climb up, and obviously I could polish my positions a bit more, like the right and left hand exit positions could be nudged up and over a bit. But all in all, like that's pretty good. Look at that, that's not bad. You can see I'm going too much to the right there though a little bit, so the center position could be adjusted as well. And again, if you move this top exit left and right hand sequence up, basically that's going to dictate the height at which you play the animation for climbing up the ladder. That's it. So if you find the animation isn't lining up correctly, nudge those two around. And if you want to get super technical about it, you could go into an animation software and get the exact distance, and then you could base it off of that, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to play around with it a few more times, and that's looking a bit better. Now I still have to adjust the center point, but all in all, I'm pretty content with this so far, and I'm going to need another video anyway because we still have to cover sliding and getting knocked off. So I think in the next video, I'm going to cover sliding, getting knocked off, and I'll polish these variables here so the ladder is more on center, like it was in the example I showed from Neff. I want to give a little bit of a quick ramble here before I go for a sec, because I noticed some people say that, oh, you write these systems so quickly in like 25 minutes to an hour, we have something working. But I know a lot of you already know this because a lot of you are no doubt advanced or intermediate programmers yourselves. But a lot of these things I do behind the scenes, like they take me hours to figure out. You're just seeing a more streamlined process when I show it to a video. But this is a bit more closer to reality because this is a system I've made for Nephalite that I haven't given a pass to yet. So I think it's still rough around the edges and can be improved. I say all this to say that basically A lot of times when people are newer, they think that you're going to come up with an idea and, oh, that's it, you have the idea. But a lot of you guys who have been doing this for a long time know that is literally never the case. You oftentimes go back and refactor your code a half a dozen or a dozen times as the project grows. So if you go back and change stuff a lot, or it takes you a while to come up with systems, don't feel discouraged. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me in the psychological torment that was ladders. I hope you all have a very lovely weekend. Thank you so much to my patrons for keeping my lights on. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. Thank you to the people who take the time to share and like the series and tell their friends about it via word of mouth. I hope you all have a very, very lovely weekend. I'll see you next week.